Thank you very much. I was asked to have a short first question. Is anybody in the audience not speaking German? Great, that's good news, because then we continue in English, and this is how we provide it. When we were asked to fill the stage right after lunch break, we were rethinking our way of presentation, and we decided to be very interactive and very alive, and this is why I'm very happy that I'm joined by 4 colleagues. So we have a very short-term discussion here, interactive on stage, and hopefully you will be very awake, very interesting, very energetic. We will talk for about 35 minutes, and then you have plenty of time for some questions. My name is Thilo. As you said, I'm partner at MHP, and I'm leading the Sustainability and the Mobility Transformation Unit. So I'm very glad to be here talking about my topics. So what are the topics we want to talk about? MHP is a company owned by Porsche, and we have been around for more than 25 years now, about 4,500 people, and our heritage is data. So this is what we are really good at and what we learned. And over the last years, we were thinking more and more, how can we use this data? How can we use the value of data to create great ideas, great solutions for our tomorrow? And this is why we are here today, to talk about the value of data. And maybe going on to the next slide, and then to you, Alex.
Yes, but first let's start with real talk. Yesterday, we had the chance to hear from Joran Rockström about planetary boundaries and the 16 tipping points that could push our entire planet into crisis. And when we look at the picture, we see that most of the tipping points are already in the red or in the orange zone. And if we believe in science, and of course we do, that should be a more than alarming signal to our whole society. Looking back, just 8 years ago, we had a huge milestone in fighting climate change for future generations, the Paris Agreement, and the aim of 1.5 degree, to limit the global warming to 1.5 degree until 2050. When we look at the company level, we have the so-called Science-Based Target Initiative, where companies commit themselves to set targets in decarbonization to reach the 1.5 degree scenario. But how is the status quo? Are we already in line with a 1.5 degree scenario and the target setting in the automotive industry? Together with our partner Ride, based on science, we did an analysis. We look at their XCC model with a baseline of 2020 and looking at the target setting of the companies, and we found that in the scenario, actually, there's a high ambition gap. When we look into contribution of their decarbonization roadmaps, the economic the perspective of economic growth, and their business models, we see that there's a really high ambition gap. They are contributing in the automotive sector of 3.2 degree. But the most challenging point is, when we look at the decarbonization scenarios and the remaining carbon budget, that there's really a high ambition gap, and it's time for action. And it's not time for action in 2 years, it's not time to action in tomorrow, but today. The good news is, when we look at the politics react. They give some guidance, they give them some regulatory, like the EU taxonomy, like the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Initiative, like the Green Claims Initiative and the Supply Chain Act in Germany, and even in discussion in the European Union. I think it's not enough, but it is a start, and politics have recognized that there is much to do. But when we look in the reality in companies, or for companies, even in our automotive industry, we see that companies are in a multi-crisis mode, even without sustainability. We see a global recession. We see supply chain disruptions like the semiconductor shortage in the automotive industry in the last 3 years. We see inflation, we see rising energy costs. But in my opinion, the most challenging point is the mindset of the companies. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a new study that found that 79% of the companies don't see a business case in sustainability. They see only a regulatory requirement. We as MHP, and I personally believe in the business case of sustainability, and it's our job to enable sustainable future growth, even in the industry. And Thilo, how do we do this?
We picked out one great example for the value of data that already exists today. Thanks to NVIDIA, they are able to make a virtual image of the world and to simulate climate changes now, in the next years, and in our future. And this is, of course, very important to wake up the people and to understand on a very high basis that it's time to act now. But I'm pretty sure, listening to those great speakers today and yesterday, that at least everybody here knows that, and I'm pretty sure most of the people around. So what we were thinking about, how can we take this and transform that to a lower level in terms of companies, products, and cities. So use the knowledge of data, use the knowledge of simulation and some other technologies to really get in concrete topics, in concrete projects, in concrete solutions to be part of that big solution on a global level that we all need. And we came up with an idea, what we call the digital eco-twin. So you might have heard of a digital twin or some other digital shadow and terms like that being important in modern production companies and development departments. And we were thinking, let's add this knowledge that we have and this knowledge we have about eco and its importance to this topic. And we came up with what I think a great solution that made it possible for us to control sustainability performance within the companies, looking at the products, and what you can see here on a small level and not a very deep level, but the possibilities with those eco-twins is that we can make simulation based on the complete lifespan of a product and can already anticipate the future, what this product will cause in terms of environmental impact. Same with the monitoring. As soon as you can see something and measure something, you can monitor it and optimize it, because then you can take concrete measures, and some of those measures cost money, but when you can prove to the companies, to the industry, that this will pay off at the end over the complete lifespan, and not only in terms of environment, because I have a deep understanding that some companies have to find a way to deal with sustainability goals in addition to the other goals that a company has to have in order to perform. But when you can show them that it will save money in the long run and have a positive impact on the environment, it's much more easier. And then you can increase the anticipation of everybody, not only the top management with the numbers, but when the people in the company see that there's really something you can look at and you can work with, like an twin, an eco-twin, a digital eco-twin, that makes it much more easier. I mean, it's not never easy, but it makes it much easier for us. So what we found out when we were looking at the companies, and as I said before, we've been around for quite some time, we calculated that around 85% of the negative environmental impact is done by the product itself when you're looking at industries and producing companies. And this is where we wanted to jump in and see what we can do about that. And somebody who knows what to do about that is Alex.
Yes, we came up with a vision of zero-impact products. Remember, 85% of the emissions from a company in the industry is caused by the product level. So our vision of zero-impact products is easy. We create or we enable future products without negative environmental effects, but with a positive business case. You might think that it is not possible, but I believe it is possible with the power of data.
But it still sounds complicated, Alex. So what is it that we really can do today?
Yeah, what we see in the practice is that we have a so-called, or we name it, design paradox. When we look at the production phase of a car, so when the car is rolling from the assembly line, we have all the data that is necessary to calculate the real product carbon footprint of a car. But in the early stage, where product decisions are made, it is not possible, or we don't have the data at the moment to derive the optimal measures in decarbonization or in making the product more sustainable. So what we need is a product carbon footprint estimation where we collect the data all around from the company, bring it to the product level, and measure or estimate the product carbon footprint and bring it into material decision processes. Make material decisions in a quality, in a cost, and even in a sustainability perspective. And when we do it, then we can talk about green premiums, we can talk about other suppliers, we can talk about other materials. And when just the three examples, there's just more than one business case behind. And we as MHP are already developing solutions where we want to close the digital loop in product development processes.
Now I know, working with you, that you sometimes get the chance to walk the talk and work in real projects on those topics. Do you have some advice, something you have from the real world that you could share with us?
Sure. Just to give you a short introduction to numbers, when we talk a product carbon footprint of a car, and especially we have one case, Volvo is presenting their product carbon footprint of the car very good. We see that a combustion engine have around 60 tons of CO2 equivalent over their life cycle. When we have a switch to electric mobility, it decreases to 27 tons. And 24 of them are caused by the material perspective. So what we do is we integrate sustainability targets based on the sustainability strategy of a company into product development processes. So we derive environmental targets on a car level and break this down in the product development processes to a system level, to a component, and even to a part level. And then integrating it into, as a technical requirement, into supplier demands. And with our IT solutions of reporting, planning, and steering, we are able to really steer the decarbonization of products in the short-term perspective and even in a long-term perspective. And as I said, with the value of data, we enable zero-impact products in the future. And not because it's necessary to reach the real sustainability goals in the industry. When we do it right, there's a clear business case behind of future zero-impact products, and that is my message to you today.
Thank you very much, Alex. So we outlined what we can do as a company, especially in our boundaries where we can control things. But as Alex mentioned, the suppliers are, of course, a very important issue, because when it comes to complex products, you have a lot of suppliers delivering things to you, and you somehow have to trust them on what they tell you, how much, for example, CO2 equivalent is already on your doorstep when those pre-systems, those pre-modules come. And trust is a great thing, but in very complex global supply chains, it's sometimes great to look a little bit behind the data you get. And this is where Moritz comes in. He's here for, oh, you don't see it anymore. Kati was actually planned, but we're very happy that Moritz can jump in. He's a manager at MHP and responsible for blockchain and NFT. And so what challenges do you see when you look at those global crazy supply chains?
Yeah, so the sustainable products and recycled materials are really awesome, you know, but to really bring this into life, we have to implement blockchain, in our view. And the first thing we have to mention here is the willingness. So companies have to really be open to make transparency over their supply chain. If they don't really open up about their supply chain, we cannot really track data. The second point is about traceability and certification. So we have really to make a traceability and validation of the shared data about the blockchain. The last point is the data flow. So often after the sale, the source of information ends, so we don't really know what happens with the product. We have, for example, a handbag or a shoe. It's not really connected to the environment, so the connection ends and we don't really know what happens. And this is maybe one of the main challenges about a sustainable supply chain.
Sounds complicated, but what, from your point of view, can we really do to meet those challenges?
Yeah, glad you asked, Thilo. So the first thing I think is real-life token. So real-life token could be token like a proof of attendance. So imagine you as a company are really into the sustainable events and will visit an event, and then you can claim a token and can really confirm how you commit to your sustainable efforts. So this is one really cool option we see here, and we also use at MHP, unfortunately. So the second point are digital identities. Today it's very easy to steal an identity. I think this will happen or happens every day. But if you use the blockchain, you can verify identities, digital identities, and this really helps to build trust. And there are already solutions like the Aura blockchain, for example, which is used by Louis Vuitton, Prada, for example, and they already have implemented into the market to prove the identity of an handbag, for example. I think this really awesome example. Then furthermore, we have the proof of data and origin. So this is also often not so easy to make it very verifiable where the source of origin comes, especially regarding a supply chain. So we have to see, or we have to really get a proof which is documented on a distributed ledger. And then we can really trust the source of information. And this is, I think, also an awesome achievement of blockchain. Then automatic rules. I'm not sure if you're aware of the smart contracts on blockchain. Smart contracts are like self-fulfilling contracts which really have a trigger event. So as soon as a certain trigger event happens, the rule is self-fulfilling and second event will happen. So this is, on my view, one giant achievement and also a big part of a sustainable supply chain. And then the last point is about digital twins. Like you said already, digital twins is a big trend. Everyone heard about it. And we see it often also in the battery manufacturing. And we can use it on the blockchain, verified, to really track the battery life cycle, which is then verified by the blockchain. I think these are all 5 very good examples we also implement with our customers or even use at ourselves at MHP.
So, Moritz, you know, I'm a big fan of blockchain and NFTs. In the industrial context, as you pointed out, but in the fun part as well. And so each of you have had the chance. Yes, we have an NFT generator at our MHP booth just over there. So after the presentation, if you still have some time, please feel free to come by to get your NFT. I learned for some, it's the first one in their life, so you will always remember us. But no matter being a big fan, I'm still a very sustainability person, and there are always some criticism on supply chain, on blockchains in the supply chain, and on NFT solutions and this whole topic. Could you outline some stories on that, how that will hopefully change?
Thilo, it's already changed a bit last year, so good news. Of course, the Bitcoin blockchain, as we know, as a proof of work blockchain, is very energy inefficient, and therefore it's also just used for storage of worth. But end of the last year, we had the big merge on Ethereum. Not sure if you're aware with that. So they changed from proof of work to proof of stake. And this really brings down the energy consumption and also the CO2 emissions. For example, for our MHP giveaway NFT we have at our booth, we use the Polygon and blockchain, which is based on Ethereum, and the Polygon transactions have a CO2 emission per transaction of 0.055. So it's 5.5 times less CO2 emissions as a short email, as you see. And this is, I think, really good example. People are always talking about transactions on blockchain, but we have so much transactions every day, and like with PayPal and also Visa are really CO2 heavy. So I think we are on a very good way. We have good solutions already we can use and implement, and I'm very optimistic for the future.
Thanks a lot. So there's no reason not to get your NFT later on. So we learned that due to data, we are enabled to optimize our products on a company level. And thanks to Moritz and his team, we can even trust our supply chain. But this is pretty much the beginning of a lifetime. And we want to take a look at the use phase, which is for some products the most environmental impact phase. And at the end of the life as well, because this can be very challenging as well. And Moritz already mentioned this big topic of car batteries in our e-cars. And believe it or not, we have a pro on that as well. Nils, great to see you here and learn something about our full battery potential that we hopefully work on together with our companies and clients.
Yeah, so we already heard some very important vocabulary, which is digital twins and batteries, battery life cycle, managing data. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're talking about life cycle management. We're talking about state of health. And yeah, also the digital eco-twin. So just to give you an idea, I will get to the next slide. So I will not talk about every number here, only two of them. When it comes to the switch to EVs, it's not only about mobility, it's about energy system and renewable energy sources. And of course, it's about raw materials. And of course, lots of discussions are about where are these raw materials coming from and how can you recycle batteries. And we already heard on the main stage today that, and this is something that I would have told you also, there are not enough batteries coming back out of the field to really have a batch number that recycling processes are going in scale as of now. But maybe you also heard about the factory of Mercedes-Benz, and they are about a 96% of recycling quote. But again, we need more batteries coming back from the fields. So, and we're talking about the life cycle later on. And one small hint, NIO and others, CATL and others, are working on new batteries, are working on new raw materials and that they bring in. And the next level of the ET7 is coming with 150 kilowatt per hour. And this will bring this car to 1,000 kilometers. So what you do with such a battery in the end, and just to give you a small idea that the shift to EVs is, globally, and it's coming especially from the Chinese OEMs. And again, I will not read every statement here, but I think all of you are aware you don't need more regulation of old technologies. You need a push for new technologies, and that the companies themselves, they are only talking EVs. And of course, for companies that have legacy in ICE cars, it's way more difficult to transform and to sell ICE cars and battery-driven cars under one brand. So this transformation that we're seeing there, in the very center, is this critical thing, HV batteries. And what we do with that? In the first place, of course, it's about tracking the raw materials. We can use blockchain for transparent supply chain, because you want to drive an EV and have how can I say that? A good feeling to do that and not to worry about where the raw materials are coming from. So this is one thing, to use the data, but then it's about the state of health. Because everybody's talking about, after 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 kilometers, what about my state of health? How vital is this battery? And what we see now is that the state of health and the batteries that have hundreds and thousands of kilometers are way beyond, way far better than the estimations were in state of health. But how can you track that? How can you track them when they're in the field? And then we talk about battery ecosystems. We're talking about battery as a service systems, where you have digital eco-twins, and there is the word again, a digital twin from each and every battery, from the very first stage of production until they're in the car and during their life cycle in the car and through the second life cycle. For example, as a stationary battery. Or if you heard about the swap stations from NIO, also swap stations like that can stabilize the energy system. And this is something where you always have to track your state of health. Is this battery vital enough? And big OEMs are already doing that, and we are helping them, collecting the data, analyzing the data, and then, of course, making decisions, also automized decisions, which batteries has to be taken out of the ecosystem because they are not longer vital enough to drive in cars or to be used in cars. But for stationary usage, they're still good enough. But you need the data from every battery. And this is also like managing your risk in your portfolio, your battery portfolio. And we will talk about thousands of batteries. And below a state of health, if there is no use anymore, if there's not a business case anymore, you will recycle it. And we already saw over 90% recycling potential. And this is not possible with any ICE car. This is in the first stage an idea of what we are looking forward to. Mobility transformation is not to think about from an energy transformation, and in the very center is the battery.
Great. This is what I really like about our job and our company, that being able to work with data in every way and being so close to the automotive industry in that case, we are able to be very early on some topics. And as Nils said, there are not that many batteries coming back yet, and we are already anticipating what we need in future cars to change that now. And the great thing, it's not only ideas and really nice slides, by the way, but we are already able to work on that. And knowing that Nils has a couple of projects, do you have something you can share on that topic with us?
Yeah,
or is it all highly sophisticated and
it's both.
Secret?
It's both, but exclusively for you guys today. No, it's. I brought you the digital eco-twin. I brought you the digital twin because it's a new way of thinking in the entire production process. It's something, especially for batteries, that is a game changer. Again, from the very first step of in mines, digging for raw materials, to the end of life and after second usage. And what we do here is we have an analytics platform with a cloud provider. I think we can tell it, right? Because there's already PR. So it's with AWS, and also a case that we do in the US, in North America. And so we help not only collecting the data, but processing it. And this is very difficult. I mean, we are in our heart IT and management consulting, bringing processes and IT together. And there's a big legacy in IT systems. And if you want to establish something like a digital twin of the entire value chain, that's with all its interfaces and the different data formats, really challenging for all of our customers. But what you get out is we're talking battery cell producers in the first place. We're talking the battery producers themselves, and then the OEM, who is sometimes the same. Some of them are producing the batteries by themselves. Some of them are purchasing them. And in the end, all the data together, like a data flow, is something that we need to understand batteries better, to understand how they get older over the usage cycle. And we're looking forward to that. And we're looking for way more batteries that we have than the number that we have today. And coming back and see this digital twin idea coming more and more to life. And I'm really looking forward to this road and to manage all the data that we get from the batteries, and to manage this critical part of the mobility and energy transformation.
Thank you very much, Nils. So you learned on 3 use cases so far that we are able today to look at a product creation to make that more sustainable. We are able to look at the supply chain and trust the data that we get. And then we had a specific view on the use phase and second life phase and the importance and the value of data. But the other thing I like about our company is that we never stop thinking, and we want to be really a part of that world-changing topic that I mentioned at the beginning. So the next normal step was to think, okay, this is on product level, but we are pretty sure we need a complete new view on the ecosystem mobility. So when 10 years ago, my company allowed me to come to Berlin and visit one of the most important automotive conferences, I met Markus and was very impressed because 10 years ago he was already working on mobility, was working on cities, on intelligent cities, and discussing what impact does this have on our world. And so it was very close for us and sure for us to ask him, so this eco-twin, is there something similar that we might be able to use for cities, for urban areas, to make the whole mobility setup more sustainable?
That's for sure the case. Thilo, thanks for the introduction. So where did we start with intelligent city performance? I think what you now learned is very much looking into the future. But as Thilo said, we are always asking ourselves, how can we impact today what is going on in the streets? And we can talk about the future, how we become net zero and so on, but at the same time, here in Berlin, thousands of cars are crowding the streets, lots of pedestrians running around, a lot of people are looking for parking spaces, for charging poles, and so on and so on. And we got the task basically from Porsche. Lutz Meschke from Porsche, the CFO, asked us, Markus, you and your team, can you imagine a way how we can impact what is going on today already? We have good plans for the future, but we want to make a difference today. And Markus, can you think about a smart city platform? My reaction was, oh no, please not a smart city platform. Because as we all know, smart city platform in the past 10, 15 years failed miserably. And so our first task was to find out why did those platforms in the past fail, and what can we do different to make it a success and to work with data from the city to make it more sustainable right now. And that's what we did. It's basically 3 main steps which we identified, which are really important. And if you come to our booth, we can give you also a demo and a first insight on what we are currently installing. First thing is, you need to own as a city the infrastructure which is generating the data. What we found out is, if Siemens comes into a city and says, I'm going to deliver you smart city infrastructure via my infrastructure components, and by the way, I offer you a smart city platform, this platform is owned by Siemens, the data is hosted by Siemens, and it comes only from devices by Siemens. At the same time, you have Cisco, and they come and say, okay, we are creating for you the wireless network in the city, and by the way, we have a smart city platform, and we are hosting this, and we're having the data, and you can use it if you want to, and so on and so on. And that was the first problem we identified, that there are many offerings, but they are all proprietary. They are proprietary by the industry, and therefore, our first thing was that we said our paradigm is that our platform is neutral and is run by the city as orchestrator, but also the city is not owning it. That was a very important thing. And then we come into play and say, okay, what type of infrastructure could we use as IoT device to generate data? Data about how are the emissions currently in certain areas of the city, how is the traffic going, how is the parking situation, and so on and so on. And we are now cooperating with a smart lighting producer, and we have an exhibit at our booth, as I said. And with this smart lighting, we can go into the existing poles and put the lighting on top of it. So there is no infrastructure need, no Tiefbau necessary to do so. We just exchange the lighting. And by doing so, we install sensors, cameras, 5G modules, and so on, everything you need to collect the data to create this digital twin of a city. And then we had the next problem that we said, okay, if I now go to Stuttgart, which is our hometown, we thought about, okay, how much would it cost to change the lighting to LED lighting to save the energy, to get all the data from it. And it was a 3-digit million euro budget needed for that. And if you now go to a city and say, okay, dear mayor, I can save you money by energy, I can save carbon footprint, I can make your traffic run faster, then the mayor says, okay, how much is it? And you say 100 million, then he says, okay, come back in 5 years, but I'm not sure if I'm then mayor still. So this political process takes too long to do the purchase of such things. So what we do in addition is that we are currently working on a financing and leasing solution that a city can get the infrastructure of this lighting for free, and the infrastructure gets paid back by the energy savings. That will last roughly 3 to 5 years, depending on the size. And after 5 years, the energy savings paid back the infrastructure change. And LED lighting can save 60 to 85% of CO2 emissions compared to traditional lighting. So while you are paying back by your energy savings, you already reduce your carbon footprint and address your SDGs which you may have in the city. So that is the first step. We have the infrastructure in the city. We generate lots of data, parking situation, charging poles, how many passage people are going by, how many cars are going by, and so on and so on. We can show you on the booth. But then sits the city there and says, okay, what shall I do with it? Yeah? And then we have the next point, and that's also experience from 10 years now working in cities. They say, okay, now I need to hire an IT professional who can work on the data. And then I need to set up a platform, and then I need to set up dashboards, and then I need to set up optimization algorithms to steer my traffic, to steer the lighting, to guide the parking traffic, and so on. May take 5 to 10 years at best, and by the way, we all know cities do not get the IT professionals because they are not paying that good, so the qualification is too low. What we then, second thing we did different is we offered city services. So that was one example in Copenhagen, the smart city platform, which was pushed with a 2-digit million euro amount of money into the city, with a basically same approach, lots of data on it. And then Copenhagen leaned back and said, okay, now here's the data, do something. And nothing happened. And they did a fuck up on that, and they really, in the end, said, okay, we are shutting down this platform because we have no idea how to get it running and how to produce results. Therefore, we offer services, we call them incubation services. So we go in the city, we talk with an energy supplier, we talk with the waste management, we talk with every facility in the city and try to bring them on the platform where we already have prepared use cases and prepared dashboards so that they can immediately start working. It's like plug and play. And the access to this smart city platform is offered in a freemium approach. So again, no public tender, no EU Horizon tender stuff, which again consumes years and years. You can immediately start working on the platform, and you can immediately cause impact. Third thing we do differently, we also think about the companies and the corporates in the city, because only the city will not solve the problem in the end. So we offer B2B2C services. So if we collect now the data, we get a digital twin of the city, which is more precise than this that Google, for example, delivers you from the movement data of all our mobile devices. So our digital twin is much more precise. And with this digital twin, we can produce algorithms who can give you routing recommendations, a parking real-life situation on curbside, and so on and so on. All the problems we are tackling, we have full transparency on, and we can give it to logistic companies, for example. DHL would be happy to get this information to better steer, based on real-time data, their delivery cars. There was a trial in Hanover with Hermes, and they saved nearly 15% of delivery time by optimizing the route real time and not going always the same circle like your normal delivery does, but doing it intelligently with AI at real time. So that can save money for the logistics company, that will save or optimize traffic flow, and it will reduce, again, emissions. It's possible today. And so we are also taking those partners on board. If we come to a city with ICP, we already have talked with DHL, with UPS, with Hermes, with Shell, with Apcoa, all the parking providers, and so on and so on. And we already have the interfaces on board. So we can easily interact with them and can help the city to immediately interact with those suppliers. Imagine a city trying to orchestrate all that stuff won't happen. So that's what we do different, and here you see that's basically our picture of the city. And as you heard from my telling now, we have the digital infrastructure layer, we have the technical layer, and then we have the business layer, and that's how we work through the city. And that's a very holistic approach. And on the right-hand side, you already see use cases which are running already today. So smart parking space management we are doing in Vienna with WePark. Smart traffic management we are currently preparing in Ludwigsburg, which is our hometown and where our headquarters is situated. Parking plus X we are discussing with Apcoa what additional services can we deliver on top of our with our data for parking customers. Demand-driven charging infrastructure, we did our pilot with last year in Leipzig, which was live. So you see, that's nothing where we have just imagining something or where we're advertising something. We built this whole thing. You can see it at our booth, and we run it already. So we are currently busy in those 4 cities. That's right now where the projects run. And we have currently a pipeline of around 15 more cities. And the story goes round in Germany, word by mouth, and we didn't spend any marketing dollars so far on it. So people start coming to us. And that gives us the feeling that we really, and I told you in the beginning, what did we different compared to other smart city platforms? That gives us a very good feeling that at least we hit the one or the other point which might now work out. And we really have the feeling, that's now my last mention, I talked to someone from Telecom, and they did basically the same idea some 5 years ago with Osram as also a smart lighting provider. And the idea was not too bad, what they had, and the solution was not too bad. It runs, I think, in 1 city. And I discussed with him, okay, what's now the difference between our approach and your approach? And he said, maybe it's was just the wrong time 5 years ago. And we really have the feeling for this solution, we have the time right now. We can optimize traffic, we can reduce carbon footprint of what is going on currently out here in Berlin and any city in the world. And if you're interested, join us or now ask us questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Markus. Can I work this? Yeah, so rounding it up for today, I hope we had 4 really challenging and interesting use cases for all of you, showing along the supply chain, starting at the very beginning with the product creation, and then the supply chain with our blockchain and NFT topics, and then the use phase, the end-of-life phase, and then taking it on an even bigger level, on a city level, that we are working on exciting topics, and the overall combining spirit is that data will be the most important topic, or maybe one of the most. Mindset will be very important as well, to get the companies, to get these cities to work on those topics and to accept that they're already ready to go solutions. And looking at that, finishing up with our complete cycle, what we do on sustainability. You can read that by yourself. And what I really like, and then I stop what I all like about my company, is that we walk the talk. And when we were setting up this presentation, we were discussing, okay, what is the publicum? What are the people listening to us? What do they expect on a GREENTECH Festival? And so we decided, yes, to use some slides. It makes it a little bit easier to follow, but not to come up with a super special top management consulting over-the-top presentation, but to take you on a little journey on the really getting solutions on the street. And this is what we do, and this is what we like, and this pays off to our claim, to our purpose. You can read it here. Today for tomorrow, it's time to change, and we are happy to be part of the solution side and really working on tomorrow's future. And so we hope we found the exact right level on information, on entertaining, and leaving you this afternoon with some interesting insights on what is happening already and what can be done in the future. And even so we are still okay. I invite you to place some questions, and for that I would like my dear colleagues up on stage, so please feel free if you have any general or very specific questions on those topics to just stand up and place your questions. Thank you.
So are there any questions? Just show up, and maybe you can then go around and place the mic. You have. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Well, thank you very much from the panel of experts from MHP Porsche company. We have questions.
Yeah, not a very specific one, but generally thinking of data. Of course, there comes the concerns with data security. To which extent is that a blocker for you or concern? How much is slowing this? Is this slowing you down, or what is your perspective on this generally? Is there conflict?
Maybe I can give some insight from our real-life examples with ICP. So for sure, that's a question we get asked by cities quite often. Currently, our platform is running on Azure. That's no secret, but on which is situated on a cloud computers here in Europe, but we plan to move to a German solution. You might know the one. And for data security purposes, we are working together with Bundesdruckerei currently to find there the best level of data security. We want to make it a European solution, not only German, but European, but it needs to be safe and it needs to be run on an infrastructure which we can trust. And in that case, the market won't accept a Chinese or an American solution in the end once we scale.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Question is about the end users. Do you have any initiative to educate and communicate and make it more transparent what you do in this sector of sustainability? Because I see in this immense power how you can bring up more conscious next generations of Porsche users.
I mean, I think that's a basic exercise of all of us, like you see us here. We are very much into this topic. Nils is battery, Moritz is NFT, Alex is our overall master, and Thilo is heading all this. So we are creating awareness within our company, because we also populate this information across the company. But also our mother company, Porsche, is pushing very hard in that direction. And I think that's also, I mean, that makes me really proud to work at Porsche, basically, is that we were the first car maker to say we are going 100% electric no matter what. Yeah, we were the first German or I think European OEM car manufacturer who said this. So this thinking in sustainability comes to our heart. We need to educate more our customers. I think, Alex, you were saying that 79% of the companies are considering sustainability as something they need to do because the regulation tells them so. But it's not at the heart of their business. And I think that's our foremost task, to educate also our customers to regard this as a business case, because it will, if we do not work on that, become incredibly expensive.
No, I was just saying, like, what specific things you do. Like, I got Porsche, and like say, hey, I saved this, or this specific car is using reused materials, and you have such impact. How you quantify this?
Yeah. Well, actually, this is, of course, from our company perspective, we try to publish a lot of white papers, for example, knowing that this is sometimes difficult to reach out to the people. Then we work a lot together with universities and try to support them, because this is also new. So when you set up a plan for university education today, it's not integrated yet. Because when this was written, the blockchain was not even invented, especially in Germany. And so we try to constantly work together with universities on the education side, and then hosting, of course, master and bachelor work. And then with our possibilities that we have on the white paper side and the reach that we have, we try to emphasize that as well. And then you maybe have seen our great marketing campaign. Now I got the word. The marketing campaign, where we put this topic of sustainability right in the middle, and then put real employees, so you can even look them up on LinkedIn, right next to it with some quotes on what we really do and what we really get done. And I hope this is a little bit in your direction, showing more and more people that when you always look at the big picture, you might get frustrated, like the lady from Last Generation that we heard on stage. When you look at the whole thing, and then I understand that there must be people looking at the whole idea and the whole climate and the big topics, and but we decided for ourselves, let's get started. On product level, on supply chain level, on battery level, on city level, and talk about that and make more and more people feel that. And I hope this is a way to emphasize that more and more and get more and more people on board. Is that a little what your question was? Okay.
I think we can add to because you asked about very specific measurements and how we assess the impact. So on the one hand, we assess like the CO2 emissions for our projects. We can do that, and more customers are also asking us to do that. So what if you're half a year working on a project here? So what is for traveling and stuff? What are the CO2 emissions? And this is something that we do, and more customers are asking it. Or of course we offer it to do it, and also offering sustainability consulting, even if they don't ask for it. So just to give them an idea of what their project that they're asking us to do will have an impact on the ecological side. Second thing is we evaluate or assess our own, in general, the companies, which is mainly traveling CO2 emissions. And you did like a big analysis for that. And we changed our mobility offering for all the employees just starting as 1st of July. And we'll way more differentiate the mobility options. And this is way less cars, because we have a car legacy and we're coming from a car company in the end, but this is not the way to go, that 4,000 people are driving cars every day, thousands of kilometers, and this is what we're changing, and we will go way beyond the car. I think this will reduce our CO2 footprint massively. Lots of people will go to Bahncard, I guess. So, we're doing both, assessing the customer's project. When they ask for, of course. When they don't ask for, we offer consultancy. And we assess our own and change the way that we do mobility or the options that we use to reduce our carbon footprint.
I think there was
maybe one closing remark, because I think the question also goes as a car maker. Now, Nils, I think, pointed out how we do it as a consulting company. But in the end, we are a car maker, and we have really big programs currently running at Porsche and Volkswagen and all its brands, how we really become net zero. And we have to kind of balance out that we still offer relevant, sustainable products to also ensure that the people and the families which are dependent on our welfare and that the company is running earn their money. But at the same time, that we reduce our carbon footprint, and the ambition clearly is to go to zero. And the thing is, and Alex pointed that out in the beginning, our main challenge is in the production process. So you see that 80% of the emissions Volkswagen, for example, is causing occur in the production process, not while the cars are running. That's a perception problem. Nobody sees it. The car you see, but the production process for you is invisible. But most of the emissions a car is causing occur in the production process. And to get this to net zero really is a challenge for us, while we have to keep the thing going. I mean, we cannot stop the company for 10 years and say, okay, we reinvent ourselves. And then we would have 600,000 employees, which would be quite unhappy if they don't receive a paycheck at the end of the month. So we have to make it while we run. And the ambition is clearly that we are compliant with the Paris goals as far as we can influence it. And that's true for Porsche and for Volkswagen. And there is a lot of money going to be currently invested in this. You don't see it right now, but that's a marathon more. That's nothing you can change from day to day. But we are really working hard on it. So it affects each and everyone in the company.
Thank you very much, Marcus. We have time for one more question.
Okay, I think that's me. Thank you very much for presentation. The level was really good indeed. Speaking about education and challenges, you mentioned that one of the biggest challenges is to mitigate the gap in awareness among the companies and customers, to change the mindset towards sustainability and platforms among the companies. How do you do that? Because I suffer from similar problems.
Alex is doing that.
Yeah, I think it's all about communication. It's all about presence in the GreenTech Festival. When we look at the booth of Audi, our colleagues from the concern, or from Skoda, or from MHN, it's all about community building, and that is what we are doing in our branch, in our group, to get or to bring the best practices from one brand to another brand. And yeah, as I said, it's all about community building, like here in the GreenTech Festival. And the hashtag is Together We Change, and that is our job to do this in the automotive industry, in VW Group, and in the whole world at the end. That is why we are here at GreenTech Festival.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for showcasing what MHP Porsche is doing to change the world for a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you.